Real estate agents and brokers often ask me what tax form do they use to report their business income and expenses when they file the tax return with the IRS. Hi, I'm Jim Flauaus. I work with hundreds of real estate agents and brokers around the country to help them not only to reduce their taxes, but also to build profit and build cash flow so they can enjoy the kind of lifestyle they envisioned when they first got into real estate. You can learn more about me at realestatetaxcoach.com. So to answer the question, what tax form do you use, it really comes down to an issue of how do you operate your real estate business. Are you a sole proprietor? Do you operate as an LLC? Have you incorporated? And if you've incorporated, are you a C Corp or an S Corp? Now at this point, if your head is spinning, or if you say, well, I really don't know how I operate, by default, everyone is a sole proprietor until they make some other formal move. So by default, you are a sole proprietor in your real estate business. 85% of agents do operate as sole proprietors. A sole proprietor does not need to file a separate tax return for their business. As a matter of fact, if you're a sole proprietor, your 1040 tax return, the same one that you've been filing for years, can include an additional schedule called a Schedule C. I've got one here somewhere. Schedule C looks like this. It's just part of your 1040. It says Schedule C, and as you can see on the top, profit or loss from your business, which is important, that little word or, because you could have a profit in your real estate business or you could have a loss. Either way, it has to be included in your income tax return. If it's a profit, it of course adds to your taxable income. If it's a loss, it pulls down or subtracts from income that you or your spouse may have earned in other ways. For example, maybe you had a W-2 job earlier in the year, or your spouse has W-2 income. Maybe you own rental properties, have rental income, or so on and so forth. Well, the net loss or the net profit from your real estate sales business is factored in with all those other streams of income on page 1 of the 1040. So this is where you file your return. It's really pretty simple. If you've never seen a profit or loss report before, just go to a template for a 1040 and you'll see Schedule C. That's exactly what a profit and loss looks like. Top line is your gross income or your gross commissions. Your broker will give you a 1099. That 1099 number goes right here at the top. You'll have expenses throughout the year in your business. You can see some of them listed here and some aren't. For example, advertising is listed. Car and truck is listed. What about bank fees? I mean, if you have a business bank account, oftentimes you'll incur bank fees. No place on here for that. So there's actually a category down at the bottom called Other, which is listed on the back of the schedule. The funny thing is, with most agents, most of the deductions that we list actually show up in the back as Other. For example, cell phone expense, internet expense, dues and memberships to your multiple listing service, to your Realtors Association, and so forth. But anyway, that's how you file if you're a sole proprietor. Okay, what about another type of entity? Let's say, well, I set up an LLC, or my attorney, my closing attorney, he recommended that I set up a limited liability company, so I'm an LLC. How do I file my taxes? Well, there's not a simple answer for that because the IRS does not have a tax form for limited liability companies. The IRS literally lets you choose, as an LLC member or owner, lets you choose which tax form you want to file. Now, probably you're a single owner LLC. You don't have any business partners that also own the business. You're on your own. You're what we call a single member LLC. By default, guess what tax form you would use? The same tax form that a sole proprietor uses, the 1040 Schedule C. But many LLCs elect to file under a different tax status. A limited liability company, for example, if you're the sole member or sole owner, you may choose to file as a corporation. Why would you do that? Well, I'll create and have created other videos that discuss the various tax benefits of various tax entities. One of them is called LLC versus S Corp, and I definitely come down on the side of filing as an S Corp if your income is sufficient to justify it. The fact of the matter is there's many tax benefits to an S Corp. One of them is you don't pay self-employment tax like you do when you're an LLC or when you file as a sole proprietor. So you can legally avoid paying some self-employment tax, which is 15% of your net income, although you do need to file some reasonable salary if you file as an S Corp. Getting a little ahead of myself, but LLCs can file either as a sole proprietor if you've not chosen to incorporate as your tax status, or if you're an LLC and you've chosen an S Corp tax status, you filed the form with the IRS electing S Corp filing, then you would use this tax form to file your income taxes. It is the S Corp, or what's called an 1120S tax form. It's a little more complicated form. Actually much more complicated if you're producing sales of $250,000 or more during the year, then this becomes a pretty complex tax form. It's like the Schedule C, at least on the face of it. You can see there's a top line for income, there's certain expense categories, but there's about 7 or 8 other pages that include other things. For example, if you are a sufficient level, you will need to also file your assets and your liabilities. So for example, if you have loans in your business, if you have leases, if you have payroll liabilities, you've got money in the bank, you've got accounts receivable, all of that also needs to be shown on your tax return on what's called Schedule L. In any event, at the end of the day, this S Corp tax return does not owe a tax or get a refund. This is what the IRS calls an informational return. It's filed by March 15th. As an informational return. The only real information that's important to you at the end of the day is the information on this line, which is your net income. That net income, if you're the only owner of the S Corp, that net income is reported on what's called a K1, and the K1 number, the K1 amount, the bottom line net income from your real estate business, flows through to page 1 of your 1040. So you'll file 2 tax returns. You'll have your 1040 for your individual income taxes, which might include yourself, your wife, your children, and so on, are all listed on your individual income tax return. But included on that individual income tax return on line, what used to be line 17, is your S Corp income. So that's included on your return. So that's how you file if you're an LLC, choosing to file as an S Corp, or if you're incorporated, you've got a couple of choices. Setting up a LLC when you got into the business, or after you're in the real estate business a year or two, you set up a corporation. Well, then you had another choice. You could be an S Corp or a C Corp. Most agents in recent years have chosen to be S Corps because it avoids double taxation. It gives them the opportunity to be taxed at their individual rate rather than the corporate rate. Now, with the new Tax Cuts and Jobs Act of 2017, some agents are now choosing to convert to C Corps. Another conversation altogether, but just to answer the question, how do I file? If you're an S Corp, you file an 1120S. If you're a C Corp, you file a Form 1120, much like the 1120S, just doesn't have the S, and it doesn't have the pass-through where the bottom line goes to your 1040. A C Corp 1120 tax return will owe tax or get a refund. It is its own tax entity with its own tax account as far as its income taxes go. So, to answer your question, how do you file? If you're a sole proprietor, you'll file on a Schedule C just as part of your regular 1040. If you're an LLC, you'll probably file, 80% of the time, you'll file the same way as a Schedule C on your 1040. But if you made the election as an LLC to file as a corporation or as an S Corp, you'll file the S Corp return, or if you are incorporated, you'll file an S Corp or C Corp tax return. Hope that's helpful, at least gives you some navigation as to what you need to file. Filing deadlines are April 15th for the Schedule C filers. For the other returns, you need to look at March 15th as your filing deadline. So it's a little earlier. That gives you an opportunity to get your business return filed and then have a month to pull everything together for your individual return. I'm Jim Flauaus. To find out more information on how we help real estate agents, go to realestatetaxcoach.com. please check below this video and hit the thumbs up button if you found that this information is helpful. Please share it with other agents and subscribe to my YouTube channel. Also check, there's a link down below which gives you a great resource. It's the 10 secret strategies that rich real estate agents use to avoid overpaying the IRS and keep more of their money in their wallet so they have more of the cash flow for the lifestyle that they envisioned and that you envisioned when you first got into real estate. That's it for this time. Until next time, so long.